So hello and welcome everyone to the Gabriel Method step-by-step core lesson number 4. Now before we get started today, I just have a couple of quick announcements and reminders. First of all, I just wanted to remind everyone to continue to share ideas and join the conversations that are happening in the members forum. There's now hundreds of great discussions happening, and there's really a lot of valuable information and lots of support there. Secondly, if you haven't yet, I'd like to remind you to be sure to take a look at John's video blog entries. Now the core lessons, these lessons we're doing right now, these are the most important of course, but the video blogs complement all the work that's being covered that previous week, so do have a look when you can. Now every time John updates the video blog, we're adding the latest video right on the home page of the members area, so you'll see it right when you log into the members site. And all the previous video blog entries are archived as well, of course, so you can access those at any time. Now, as always, during this live class and all our live classes, we have a special email address where you can contact us with questions directly via email. And that email address is class@thegabrielmethod.com. Again, that's class@thegabrielmethod.com. And with that, I will turn it over to John.
Okay, hi everybody, and welcome back. This is core lesson number 4. This is actually the most important lesson that we've had so far, by far. And what we're going to be talking about today is how stress and what I call emotional obesity can activate the fat programs and get your body to want to be fat. Now, for most of us, I would say for 80% of the people listening right now, stress, either stress, chronic stress, or what I call emotional obesity is a factor in your body's holding on to weight. Now, for me personally, I can tell you that if I wasn't able to address both the chronic stress in my life and the emotional obesity, that is my body's need to hold on to weight in order to feel safer, if I wasn't able to address those things, there's no way I could have lost the weight. Now, in the first couple of weeks, what we've been doing is we've been focusing on the physical body. We've been focusing on how to nourish your body, how to keep your blood sugar stable, how to reverse insulin resistance so your body burns fat better, how to improve your digestion so that your body has more energy and can assimilate nutrients better, and your immune system is stronger, and you get rid of a lot of chronic diseases and problems. So we've been focusing on getting more physical energy, and now that we have more physical energy by doing the steps that we've been taking, now that we have more physical energy, we can address the most important issues, and they are the most important issues, which are chronic stress and emotional obesity. So is chronic stress activating your fat programs, and do you feel safer being fat? These are the questions that we're going to address. Now, this is going to be an experiential class in that we're going to be doing some visualizations during the class, not just talking, because the one part of the class that's useful is information, but what's even more useful is applying that information. To me, information is a little bit like going to a restaurant and reading the menu. You know, you're looking at the menu and you're getting the information about what's there to eat and to nourish yourself and to have a good meal, but then you're not getting any benefit, you're not getting any nourishment whatsoever, any satisfaction by reading the menu. You can read the menu forever. It's only when you eat, it's only when you taste the food that you're nourishing your body and you're getting satisfied. It's true when it comes to stress and emotional obesity. Learning to feel safer, learning to live a lower stress life requires experiential practice, not just talking. It requires learning how to get into a calm state, learning how to reprogram past associations that made you feel that you were unsafe, and learning how to develop connections with an inner feeling of safety. So we're going to be throughout the class doing some visualizations that are going to be really important for addressing these issues. So first, I want to turn to stress and talk about why stress is activating your fat programs. And again, the reason why chronic stress activates your fat programs is the cortisol connection. The hormone cortisol is a stress hormone. And one of the things that the hormone cortisol does is it tells your body, tells the cells of your body to stop listening to insulin. So cortisol causes insulin resistance. Now, an occasional stress every once in a while is not a big deal, but when you're in chronic stress, then your cortisol levels are chronically elevated and your body's going to be in insulin resistance. And if you remember from core lesson number 2, insulin resistance means it's telling the cells of your body to stop listening to insulin. So if your body's not listening to insulin, your insulin levels rise. Now, insulin's the fat storage hormone, and that means that if your insulin levels are always elevated, your body's in a perpetual state of fat storage, and you lose the ability to burn fat. If anyone's unclear about that, please go back and listen to core lesson number 2. It will explain everything. But cortisol is causing insulin resistance, putting your body in a state of fat storage. And I'll tell you, there's so many studies where people, if you take cortisol medication, if you give a mouse cortisol medication, if you give a doctor who's telling you just to eat less cortisol medication over a 3-year period, they'll grow fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. I don't care how disciplined they are, how much willpower they have. It's very mechanical. It's very metabolic. But having elevated cortisol levels, there's a condition called Cushing syndrome, which is caused by elevated cortisol levels, and is treated by actually with cortisol medication that causes your body to gain weight. And as long as you're taking the cortisol medication, your body's going to gain weight. It's very well documented. Cortisol causes your body to gain weight. The reason it does is because it causes insulin resistance. So to me, if you look at really what chronic stress is, to me, chronic stress is the modern-day famine. Now, we don't have famines anymore, as we mentioned, but let's say you were in a famine. Let's say it's thousands of years ago, and you were in a famine. Well, that would be a chronic stress. A chronic stress is different than an acute stress. A chronic stress is something that's ongoing and continual. It doesn't go away too much, as opposed to an acute stress like running away from a tiger. Now, an acute stress, as we'll talk about next week, can actually get your body to want to be thin, but chronic stress that's ongoing causes a chronic elevation in your cortisol levels, which is exactly what happens if you were in a famine. If you were in a famine over a long period of time, your cortisol levels would go up, your triglyceride levels would go up, you get insulin resistance, all these things that happen that today people say is metabolic syndrome and blah, 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 blah. It's a response it's your famine response. It's a stress response to protect you against famines. We don't have famines, but we have chronic stress. Now, some people, when they're in chronic stress, it causes the exact same chemistry as a famine. So chronic stress mimics starvation signals. And by doing so, causes your body to be tricked into activating the fad programs. And if you think about chronic stress, just like a famine, if you were in a famine, it's not something you could run away from like a tiger. Well, chronic stress is not something you can run away from. Chronic stress is something that has to be managed. And then, if you really think about what chronic stress is, oftentimes stress really is fear. And it's oftentimes a fear of not having enough of something or running out of something. The chronic stress of trying to make ends meet, for example, you have this fear of not having enough, of running out of resources, and you're saying to your body all the time, or you're saying to yourself, we have to save, we have to save, we have to save resources, we have to conserve money, there's not enough, and this feeling of not enough is causing stress and causing chemistry. And keep in mind, your body is programmed to try to protect you from stress, as we talked about in core lesson number 1. Stress is a warning signal that in some way we are not safe, and our body's programmed to protect us from that, from whatever that danger is. Now, when you're worried day in and day out about trying to make ends meet, feeling like there's lack, there's not enough, when you're worried day in and day out, your body doesn't understand that. But your body's programmed to try to protect you from it, so your body's trying to interpret that. And the only thing that your body can save and conserve when there's not enough is fat. So in a sense, fear of running out of resources is really the modern day fear of famine. Because let's face it, if God forbid you didn't have enough money to pay your rent or your mortgage, and you were living in the street, and then you didn't have enough money for food, you'd be in a famine. You'd be outdoors not having enough to eat. So it activates that primal starvation response for a very good reason. You're communicating to your body like that, uh-oh, in some way we're unsafe. and we could run out of resources, we could starve, and your body is programmed to protect you. So you know what happens is we get so mad at our bodies because we think our body's trying to sabotage. And I hear this all the time. I had a good week, and then something happened, I got stressed out, and I sabotaged myself. I had self-sabotage. I don't believe in self-sabotage. What I believe that is your body saying, body reacting to your fear, the fear that you're having. Not any kind of outside reality to something, but whatever fear you're having, your body's reacting to, and your body's trying to protect you. So this feeling of not enough, having not enough resources, something we're going to address in this class, is the modern day famine, and your body will activate its fat programs. Your body's trying to help you save resources because let's face it, what's the only thing your body can save is fat. That's the only resource your body can save. So if you're worried about resources, if you're feeling like you don't have enough, if you're feeling stressed, your body will try to protect you from fat. And studies have shown that people in high stress jobs and economically challenging situations are more likely to be overweight. Your fat programs are being activated. And stress, like I said before, basically stress is fear. So anytime you're feeling stress, you're sending a fear message to your body. You're saying in some way you are not safe. But in reality, when you talk about stress and you think about what stress is, it's not the object reality of what's happening. It's just what's going on between our ears. It's the thought process around it that's causing the fear. But once it translates to a fear signal, it becomes very real as far as your body's concerned. So your body becomes very real. So you're sitting at your desk and the stock market goes down and you generate a fear signal. Now, nothing's happening in your world. There's no famine, there's no cold weather, there's no tigers chasing you. Nothing's happening as you're sitting at your desk. But in between your ears, you're feeling fear because you may not have enough to make ends meet. You may get fired from your job. Your pension, you won't have enough money in your pension to retire. Whatever's going on in between your ears is causing fear. But once it becomes fear, it becomes chemistry. And then it becomes really your body. And what happens is it sets up a negative spiral. So a negative fearful thought like, oh no, the stock market's going down, sets up a negative spiral in our life. And I just want to show you graphically what that negative spiral looks like. It starts with a fearful negative thought. Oh no, the stock market's going down, which translates to an emotion like, oh my God, I won't be able to make ends meet, I could lose my job, whatever it is, which then becomes chemistry when it translates to a fear and a stress signal. And once it becomes chemistry, your fat programs get activated. And you gain weight. And the other component of the fat programs is you become tired all the time. If you would imagine what it would be like to be in a real famine, living outdoors thousands of years ago, you'd be tired all the time. Well, when the stress in your life, the mental stress in your life is activating a fear signal, you are also tired all the time. Because for the exact same reason, part of the fat program is to make you tired. So you're tired, you're exhausted, you're discouraged, you've gained weight. And you know when you're tired all the time, let's say you've been traveling for 3 days and you've only slept maybe an hour here or there, and then the slightest thing will set you off. You know, you got to get up and stand in a line to claim your bags because they lost your bags. Whatever it is, it's going to make you angry and create more negative thoughts and more negative feelings. And so that creates a negative spiral. So not only have you gained weight now, and you're tired, which creates exhaustion. It's because you're heavier. It's harder to get around. Your fat programs are all making you tired. All that's going to create more negative thinking. And more negative thinking is going to create more negative emotions, more fear, more stress, more weight gain, more exhaustion. And you set up this negative spiral where you're spiraling down into more negativity, into lower energy, into more exhaustion, more weight gain. It's a negative spiral. And what we need to do is we need to reverse that negative spiral. We need to create the positive habit of creating positive thoughts on a daily basis and create instead a positive spiral. And in a positive spiral, a positive thought creates more positive emotions, creates a feeling of safety and security. So your fat programs are getting turned off, So you have more energy, you're losing weight, you've got more vitality, and because you've got more energy and more vitality and you're losing weight, you're happier. And things aren't bothering you as much. And that generates more positive signals. And those positive signals create more positive thinking, positive emotions, and you create a positive spiral. We need to do this by creating the habit of having positive thoughts. Because when you think about it, you can't really just kind of force yourself to think happy. You have to sort of kind of develop a feeling, a habit of positive thinking, of positive thoughts. So that's something we're going to focus on. But if you can change your thinking, you change your weight gain. So what we need to do is we need to develop strategies for feeling less fear and for feeling positive and for having automatic positive thoughts of safety, happiness, and joy. So that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on how to create the automatic habit of feeling more happiness, more safety, more joy. So I want to turn to strategies. Strategies for feeling safe and lowering stress. Okay? The first one is meditation and visualization. This is something we're doing already. So even though, we've been focusing on digestive enzymes and probiotics and how many flax seeds do I eat and blah, 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 the one thing I've been saying from day one is I don't care what you adapt or don't adapt, do the visualization in the morning and evening. And I say that for a very, very specific reason because I know that even though for the first 3 weeks we're talking about food and digestion and the body and, oh no, how many, can I have this piece of bread once a month or whatever it is we're talking about, the reality of the situation is if you get your stress taken care of, everything else will take care of itself. You'll create the positive momentum. You will turn off your fat programs. Your digestion will improve. Your blood sugar will improve. Everything will improve. Meditation and visualization. So the visualizations we've been doing are a form of meditation. They lower cortisol levels. It's been well documented that meditation lowers cortisol levels. And it also inhibits signals to a part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is the seat of aggression and fear. Signals coming in and out of the amygdala will cause aggression, fear, a feeling of unsafety. Meditation inhibits the signals to the amygdala. So that's why, you see people that meditate all the time, and they just have this infinite patience. You're waiting in line at the bank, and it's taking forever, and you're getting upset, and this guy next to you, he's just not getting upset. Or something else happens that would set you off, and you look at a guy who's been meditating for years, and you notice, and I'd like you to notice, if you do find people that have meditated for years, watch them when things that normally set you off, see if they set you off. Because I can tell you now from my own experience, now having been doing visualization for years, things just don't set me off anymore. And when you think about the things that set you off, when you look back in retrospect, sometimes things set you off, and a day later you go, why was I so upset about that? It's such a small thing. My life's really good, and I'm upset at this checkout clerk because she gave me a bag that broke, and I got really, really upset about that, and now I'm not upset about that. Well, those things don't bother you anymore, so you're not sending stress and fear signals. So automatically, simply by doing visualization every day, you're going to be lowering your cortisol levels. You're going to be inhibiting signals to the amygdala. So just doing that on its own is going to help tremendously. Okay? Here's some other strategies for lowering stress that you can do while you're doing visualization. Power words. Power words, I talk about in the book, are a way of just programming a feeling of safety, security, and abundance, happiness, joy into you. Because when you're in a meditative state, you get into that smart mode when you're in visualization, and the music that we play in the background of those visualizations is carefully crafted to put you into that state, what consciousness researchers call the alpha and the theta state. They're very powerful brainwave states where your brain becomes much more powerful, much more focused. When you're in that state, you're using that power, and your mind is a power, it is an energy, there's no question about it, and when you make your mind more powerful, you can do tremendous things to heal your body. So when you're in that powerful state and you do power words, you can program into you on a cellular level the feeling of safety. Now, as we'll talk about in a little while, this feeling of unsafety came through experience. different things happened to us in our lives that made us feel unsafe, maybe as a kid or as an adult, but gave us the message that life is unsafe. So we've programmed this association that life is unsafe, which causes fear all the time. All we need to do is program back into ourselves the association that we are safe. So the way I do these power words is when you're in a meditative state, and we're going to do this in the visualization. And by the way, the visualization is going to be a little bit longer this time. It's probably going to be about 15 minutes because there's so much important information here that I want to cover in the visualization. But one of the things we're going to do in the visualization is power words. We've done this before, but simply when you're in a state, I'd like you to try this right now. I'm going to do this a couple of times throughout this core lesson. I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to just imagine that every cell of your body is saying at the same time just the word safe. Safe, safe, safe. So if you just see the word safe and imagine it's maybe in your head going safe, safe. Imagine the words, like lots of millions and millions of little words that say safe, going from your head. And just imagine this, millions of little words that say safe going from your head into your chest and your arms and your legs and your torso, millions of them, and they're going into every single cell of your body. So that every cell of your body has the word safe in it, and you're just programming it, safe, safe, safe. And now you can just imagine, just take a moment right now and just imagine every cell of your body saying at the same time, safe, safe, like a chorus, safe. Safe. You're programming on a cellular level using the power of your mind to program, simple as this, on a cellular level, the feeling of safety. Imagine it going into the DNA of each cell and reprogramming the DNA to feel safe, safe, safe. So just imagine that. Just say that a few times. Let it keep saying like a chorus in your body, safe. Safe, safe. Imagine it in your brain, and in that part of your brain called the amygdala, just sending a message. You don't have to worry about where the amygdala is. Just imagine a part of your brain going safe, safe. So you're programming safety into your body simply by using these power words when you're in a meditative, very powerful state visualization in your visualizations. You're programming power words, and you can use it's not just safe. You can use other words like let's just take some words. So just love, just programming love, a feeling of love. Love really is ultimately love is safety. Love equals safety. Because if you think about it, if you're an infant, and when you have the most primal associations about how safe or unsafe is life, if your mother's not going to take care of you, if your mother doesn't love you, then you could die. You need your mother to love you, to nourish you, to take care of you. So love really is safety. When we're in a relationship and things aren't working out and we feel like our partner doesn't love us anymore, it's more than just losing a friend or losing a companion or losing someone that you have a good time with. It's more than that. It translates down to your most primal feeling of safety. So feeling unloved can also activate your fat programs. So just imagine right now every cell of your body saying at the same time, love, love, love. Just imagine that. So you can use power words to feel safe and to feel loved and to feel secure. Try the word secure. Just program. Let's just take a moment to program ourselves together. We're all doing this at the same time. A feeling of security. See the words. This is a very powerful technique we're doing right now. And once you learn it, the sky's the limit. You'll turn off your fat programs. You'll excel in every area of life. There's no limit to what you can do with it. So just take a moment right now to see the word secure going from your brain, millions of little words like secure, millions of little words going to every part of every cell of your body. Just take a moment and say it over and over again. Imagine every cell saying secure, secure. How about happiness? How about happiness? The feeling of happiness. Just imagine now the word happiness going from your brain, millions of them, and going to every cell of your body. Happiness, happiness, happiness. Or just simply happy, happy. So we're programming a primal feeling of security into us using power words. And we're going to do that in the visualization. Another one I like to use visualization is what I call the abundance visualization, which we've talked about before, and we're going to focus on in the last course session when we talk about life purpose and meaning and success in other areas of life. But the abundance visualization is if you just imagine, now as you're sitting there, I want you to try this, just imagine you're in an ocean of abundance, whatever that means to you, an infinite ocean where just one drop of that abundance, one drop is more success and abundance and financial resources than you could ever need in 20 lifetimes. Just one drop. And you're in an infinite ocean. So it's surrounding you. It's everywhere. And then you just imagine that the cells of your body open up, the pores of your skin open up, and it all comes rushing into you. All you have to do is allow it. So you have a feeling of safety, a feeling of security. This is what we're trying to program, a feeling of security. Because let's face it, it's not necessarily the object reality of what's going on in your life. It's the feeling of unsafety that's causing the weight gain, not the reality, the feeling. You could be penniless and have no fear whatsoever about your life and about survival and be thin and not activating the fat programs. You could be a billionaire and worry every day that the stock market's going to collapse or that your company's going to be taken over or whatever it is and be 400 pounds. So it's not the object reality that we care about as far as weight loss. It's how you feel. So using this visualization, imagining you're in an infinite ocean of abundance and support and just one drop of that ocean is more resources than you could ever possibly need in 20 lifetimes. One drop, and you just allow the cells of your body, the pores of your skin to open up, and it all comes rushing in. And you feel abundance, and you're communicating to your body in another symbolic way that it understands that you are safe and that life is safe. This is another example. The abundance visualization. We'll do that in core lesson 6. So these are ways, these are strategies for feeling lower stress. Also Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong, these are all good ways to lower stress and get your energy circulating and flowing and unblock your energy so that you feel happier. The more your energy is flowing, the more connected you feel, the safer you feel. So these are really good ways. Sunlight puts you in the meditative alpha state, just getting some sunlight. Art, music, sports. Martial arts and boxing can make you feel safer. So if you're in a confronting situation, your boss is yelling at you, maybe he's still mad at you, but you're not, it doesn't bring up that primal fear from when you were 7 years old and you got beaten up because you know you can defend yourself. So taking martial arts, growing your own food. I can tell you nothing for me has made me feel less stress than growing my own food. I remember when I first moved into a property that had a backyard here in Australia and it had a mulberry tree. And I never had a mulberry before. They're like blackberries if you've never had one. Never had a mulberry before. The mulberries were everywhere. I went up to it. I had a bite of the mulberries. They were amazing. And I thought to myself, wow, food is growing right here. If I find out tomorrow that the world ends or that there's an electric power failure and there's no stores, I can't buy any food, I've got food right here. Okay, it's not a McDonald's Happy Meal, but it's mulberries, and it's really delicious, and it's really fresh. And if I had other food, like some cows, goats, milk, to milk, and some other vegetables and fruits, I'd be set. So I then planted about 20 different fruit trees. And I had apricots, peaches, nectarines, cherries, blueberries, gooseberries, which are amazing if you've never had a Cape gooseberry, but all these different things. And I always would go out in the morning. That would be a lot. The first thing I would eat is whatever's fresh and whatever's coming out at that time. And anytime during the year, apples also. Anytime during the year, something would be coming up. Now, not everybody can have a garden, but you can grow lettuce in your house. You can grow fruit trees in a planter in an apartment. You can grow wheatgrass. You can grow food. So just having food around that's just growing gives you a feeling of connectedness. Gives you a feeling of resources. Living a simple, low-cost, low-debt life whenever possible. You know, when you think about, should I go on that extravagant vacation or should I pay off my credit card, the more you can live simply and sustainably, the less stress you're going to feel. So these are all strategies for lowering stress. But as far as the class is concerned, the way we're going to address it is through meditation, visualization, and power words. That's the way we're going to be addressing it. And so that's why I say every single morning and every night do the visualization. If you can't do the other items in the checklist, and you don't know how many flax seeds to do, and where do you get the water, and what's the best probiotic, and all these things which are important, but I'd say as a package, they're 20% of it. 80% of it is dealing with the stress and the fear. And that comes from doing the visualization. So that's why I say to you from the start, the most important thing is the morning and evening visualization. Also, following your heart. There's a statistical correlation between living a life full of meaning and purpose and weighing less. People that have a real drive, a sense of something. It doesn't have to be about a career. It could be just whatever passion. It could be crocheting, doing art, volunteering at an orphanage. Whatever your passion is, following it will give you a feeling of connectedness, a feeling of safety. You're taking the focus away from you and all of your fears, and you're focusing on some bigger cause in life. And by focusing on a bigger cause in life, by something that for you has meaning and purpose, you will be in a less stressful experience when you do that, and you'll be turning your fat programs off. So whenever possible, that's why I always say, follow your heart. Okay, now I'm going to talk about what's the most important thing for some people. Again, 50 to 80% of the people that I'm talking to right now is something called emotional obesity. Emotional obesity is slightly different than chronic stress. Chronic stress, yes, fear, but emotional obesity is the need to be fat in order to feel safe. I had emotional obesity. I actually felt safer being fat when I was living in New York, and the reason is because I had a business partner that was a very aggressive person that just reminded me of an association I had as a kid. There was someone in my life as a kid that was bigger than me. He was angry. He used to beat me up, and it was a real traumatic experience for me. And okay, now I'm an adult and maybe I can defend myself, but there's still the cellular memory of these traumas, and that's something we're going to talk about in a second, but there's the cellular memory of trauma. And so I had the cellular memory of trauma of a bigger person being angry and beating me up. And so I was working with this person for about 10 years, and I never felt safe around him. And yeah, he never hit me. But he was just an angry person. And I didn't feel safe around him. And the whole time I was working around him, I was gaining weight. I was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Till eventually I was twice his size. And I wasn't afraid of him anymore. You know? I could sit on him. I could squash him like a pancake if I wanted to. I wasn't afraid of him. But the important thing is I felt safer. And so that was a huge thing for me to overcome, this feeling that the weight made me feel safer. So the thing about emotional obesity is that some people have this, and if you have this feeling that you feel safer having weight, you have to address it. It is the key. It's the key to weight loss, and I mean that really literally. Like, let's say, for example, that you've lost your keys. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I do this all the time. Let's say you lost your keys, and you're looking all through the house for them. You can't find your keys, and you have this feeling that maybe they're under the bed, but you don't feel like bending down and looking under the bed. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but I have. And so you're looking on the kitchen bench, your bureau, your desk, under a pillow. You're looking in the same places over and over and over again, but it's not until you bend down look under the bed and get the keys, that you actually have the keys. And it's the exact same with weight loss. We so want to look in all the different directions. Hey, did you try the grapefruit diet? Did you try the once-a-week diet? Did you try the soup diet? You know, did you try the hypnosis for stomach stapling technique? Did you try this? Did you try it? We're so prone toward trying all these different things when we know we started gaining weight the day we were abused, or the day some alcoholic parent beat us up, or the day that somebody died, or whatever it is. We know when this happened, but we don't want to look there. But that's the key. So you've got to find the key for you. So if you've had any kind of traumas that have caused weight gain, so if you look at some of the typical traumas that cause weight gain, okay, the first one is abuse. Mental, emotional, or physical abuse. I remember when I first lost all my weight, and I was on national television here in Australia, a show called Today Tonight. And after that was years ago, and after that, I started getting calls all the time from people. One lady called me, and she told me something she's never told anybody else. She said that when she was a kid, when she was 10 years old, she had a babysitter from ages 10 to 13. And the whole time that she was, that she had this babysitter, this babysitter was abusing her. And actually, it was a female babysitter that was abusing her. And the whole time that this was going on, she was gaining weight. And eventually she gained so much weight that the babysitter said, "Oh my God, you're so fat, you're gross," and left her alone. And that, I thought about that, and I thought that's the most tangible example of how weight actually can protect you. Now, usually weight can protect you. Like in my case, it wasn't protecting, which is making me feel safer. In her case, the poor girl, a 13-year-old girl, nobody was protecting her. The weight actually did protect her. Now, this girl, 30 years down the road, has tried every diet under the sun. She loses 10 kilos, gains 10 kilos, loses 10 kilos, gains 10 kilos, and she doesn't know what's wrong. Well, her body has created an indelible association between weight and safety. That has to be broken. I don't care how much work it takes. For some people, it's just making the realization that that's the association, and then boom, it's gone. For other people, it may take months and months of working with a therapist and doing work to reprogram that association. Whatever it takes, it's not done till it's done. But that has to be taken care of. So if you had any type of abuse, and what abuse really is about boundaries. So if you look at, abuse is about boundaries. So if this is your body and somebody's violating that space, either physically or mentally or emotionally, your body, and you can't protect yourself, and that's why boundaries are so important, they're so crucial. You can't protect yourself. Your body is going to protect you with a layer of weight so that nobody can touch you. The weight is giving you, defining your boundaries. So that's why boundaries are so important. The ability to say no comfortably is so important. So anytime you've had any type of abuse can cause emotional obesity, attack like a mugging or a burglary. Let's imagine that for 30 years you've been walking down the busy streets of wherever you live, and you've never ever felt unsafe. All of a sudden, God forbid, something happens, you get mugged. And a guy pulls a knife and blah, 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 blah. That's a trauma. Now after this, if you don't work through that trauma, every time you're walking down the street, once somebody gets a little too close or they're looking at you, you start feeling fear. Because you've learned on a cellular level that some guy can come up to you and attack you. So traumas, like a mugging, like a burglary, will be causing stress all day long that you otherwise didn't have. Traumas come back to revisit us on a daily basis all day long. If you've had an alcoholic parent, for example, and that once they got upset, once they drank too much, they were throwing things and banging things, and maybe they hit you or something like that. Every time somebody starts throwing things and banging things, it's going to remind you of that. So here you have a situation where God forbid, somebody's been mugged. Every time they walk down the street now, they didn't used to have fear. Now they're having fear every single time. So it's causing chronic stress, and it's causing this feeling like you need protection. So traumas have to be worked out. Any type of injury, moving, divorce, loss of job. Any type of injury, moving, divorce, loss of job, all of these things will cause a trauma that can cause emotional obesity. Also new situations, a new relationship, a new job. New relationships can cause emotional obesity for the same boundary issues. I know a lady who has never been in a relationship, and she just recently got into a relationship, and she's having a weight problem, and it's a boundary issue, because relationships are all about boundaries too. And how comfortable do you feel saying no with your spouse? And if you don't feel comfortable, if you're afraid that if you say no, they're not going to love you anymore, so you have this fear, you've got a boundary issue with them. So they end up walking through your boundaries, doing things you don't otherwise want them to do, and then your body defends those boundaries. Your body defends the boundaries with weight. Weight acts as a buffer. If you don't defend your boundaries, your body's going to defend your boundaries. Do you understand? So relationships are about boundaries. If you don't have strong boundaries, your body will try to protect you with physical boundaries. So when you think about it, why don't we have strong boundaries? We don't have strong boundaries because of fear and past traumas. Past traumas tell your body that you're not safe. So you're afraid, if you're afraid of losing something, or you're afraid of somebody attacking you or doing something because of some sort of past trauma, then when you're in a situation where somebody wants something from you, like the boss wants something from you, and you're afraid that you're going to lose your job, or somebody's angry at you, a sibling or a family member or a partner's angry at you, and you have this association from childhood that when someone's angry at you, they punish you or they physically hurt you, you're going to be afraid to say no. And if you're afraid to say no, if you have fear of saying no, then your boundaries will be violated. You will allow people to intrude on your space. So if this is your boundaries, you will allow people to intrude on them because you're not protecting them. You're afraid that this person's going to hurt you, or you're going to lose your job, or you're going to lose love, or whatever it is, whatever the reason is. It's always about fear. It's always about fear. And it's always causing us to do something we'd otherwise not do. So if you were feeling a state of total security and total fearlessness, you would never, ever, nobody would ever do anything that you wouldn't allow them to, unless it was a physical situation. But in a mental space, you would never allow someone to do something or make you do something out of fear, out of some sort of mental fear. So if you can feel safe, you can have strong boundaries. But learning how to have strong boundaries is crucial, and we're going to use visualization to create stronger boundaries in just a moment. So just to go back, if you can trace your weight gain to any specific incident, an abusive situation, dominating parents, teachers, and siblings. So an abusive situation, mental, emotional, abusive situation, dominating parents, teachers, siblings, neighbors, any specific situation that you can trace your weight gain. Moving to another country. I've talked to so many people, when did your weight gain start? Well, when I was 19. What happened when I was 19? Well, my family moved from Nairobi to England. Okay? So moving, ending a job or starting a new one, either one, getting married or divorced, having kids. Now, having kids obviously is a beautiful thing to do, and is a beautiful part of your life. It's not a negative one like many of these other things we're talking about, but there are definite boundary issues, because with your kids, you want to give them everything. You don't want to say no. You don't want to deny them anything. So even if you're exhausted and you're totally depleted from giving, you're still going to give more and more and more, and that's a boundary issue. And by definition, kids, and there's always a boundary issue with kids, because let's face it, they were once a part of your body. At least for the mother, they were once a part of your body. And so where does the separation start and where does it end? And if you don't have strong boundaries with your children, one thing that happens is they learn weak boundaries, so it's only hurting them, but it depletes you too. So learning how to have strong but loving boundaries with your kids is crucial. And so having kids can cause weight gain because of depletion and boundary issues. illnesses, accidents, surgery, chemotherapy, financially stressful situations, if you can trace your weight gain to any specific situations or during your life in the past, then you have what I'm calling emotional obesity, or your body triggering a need to use weight as a form of protection. And this applies again to 80% of us. So here's a real good test, what I call the feeling safe test, to see if you have emotional obesity. Now, there's a different test for women than it is for men. But let's just do a quick visualization now. What I'd like you to imagine is you're walking down the street. Just take a moment. And this one applies more to women than men, and then I'll do one for men also. But this one is about feeling unsafe by getting attention and being noticed and things like that. But let's just say you're walking down the street and you're in your most ideal shape, and you're feeling great, and you've got lots of energy, and you're happy, and everything's flowing. Just imagine that for a second. And how does that feel? So just take a moment. You're walking down the street, and how does that feel? And most of the time people say that feels pretty good, right? You want to be in your ideal shape, now you're in your ideal shape. You're walking down the street, you're flowing, you're feeling great. I'd like you to imagine now that because you've got just this incredible, vibrant energy coming out of you, and you're feeling so amazing, that you can't help but attract attention. I'd like you to just imagine that for a minute. As you're walking down the street, people are noticing you. They can't help but notice you. You're looking amazingly beautiful, and they just can't help but notice your energy, and it will happen. Once you gain the weight and your energy is flowing, people will notice you. How does that feel? Now, if that feels at all different to the way you felt before, a little bit uncomfortable or a lot uncomfortable, whatever it is, then that's a test that your body's using weight as a form of protection. Now for guys, let's just imagine that you're in a situation where maybe there's someone in your life, you're in your most perfect ideal shape. I'd like you to imagine that. And then you're in a room in your most perfect ideal shape with someone, maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a father figure, maybe it's someone, a spouse, but someone that's in the past can cause you stress or discomfort. I'd like you to imagine yourself in the room with them and being physically close to that person. And maybe they're in one of those moods where they're not particularly happy. How does that feel? Does that feel at all discomfort? Is a boss yelling at you, or a brother or a father or something, or mother disappointed? Does that feel at all uncomfortable? And if it does, if the answer is yes, then that's an indication that you're using weight as a form of safety. And even if those things don't apply to you, there are many, many other things that we haven't tricked on, but this, for about 40% of the people that I'm talking to right now, is going to trigger something, I guarantee you. So what I want to do is talk about strategies for overcoming emotional obesity. What we're going to do is we're going to use visualization to relieve past traumas. And a lot of people have been asking, we talked about a visualization for relieving past traumas. I wanted to do this visualization live. We're going to do this visualization today for relieving past traumas. And also, we're going to do visualizations for feeling safe now, for creating a surrogate form of protection. So if this is your body and your body's using weight as a form of protection, I want to create a surrogate form of protection, another type of protection, so that you feel safe and your body feels safe and it doesn't need the weight anymore. This one is crucial, and it's also crucial for the relieving the past traumas. So that's the first one we're going to do. We're going to use visualization to create a surrogate form of protection. So this is how I'd like you to do it. What I'd like you to imagine is, as you're sitting there listening to me, I'd like you to imagine, just close your eyes for a second, I'd like you to imagine that there's a column of white light that comes from the sky and surrounds your body. And this column of white light is impenetrable and indestructible and impenetrable to anything that could possibly make you feel uncomfortable. Anybody's negative feelings or emotions, anybody's touching you, anything. It's totally impenetrable. And it's a column of white light that comes from the sky and goes into the ground. and it's covering your body with white light and this protection. Anything that you want to come through can come through. Anything you don't want could not possibly come through. So this is a column of light, and we're going to use this column of light as a surrogate for the weight. So we're going to communicate to our body that we don't need the weight anymore. So as you have this column of light around you, I'd like you to imagine that all the excess weight is now melting off of your body, and this column of light is protecting you. And you're feeling safe in this column of light. And now what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce how powerful this column of light is, so that we create an anchor of solid protection for you that you have all the time. And this is really crucial. This, to me, as I said before, is eating the meal. We can talk about these theories. You could talk to a therapist for 30 years about what happened to you as a kid, and it's not going to relieve the thing. It's not going to relieve necessarily the issue. But this can. So we've got this column of light that we've just created. Now I want to reinforce how powerful this column of light is. I'd like you to imagine that this column of light is on a train track, and you're a couple hundred yards away or meters away, and you're looking at this column of light on a train track, and a train's coming toward it. Now the train's empty. There's no passengers. There's no one on it, but the train's empty. But it's a big freight train that's going full speed at this column of light. And this column of light is glowing. And I'd like you to imagine from a distance, as you're looking at this column of light, so do this with me right now, there's a column of light, your column of light, on train tracks. You're a couple of hundred yards away or a couple hundred meters away. A freight train's coming right for the column of light. I'd like you to imagine now that the freight train hits the column of light, and when it hits the column of light doesn't even budge. There's not even a ripple, not the slightest even intrusion ripple in the column of light. Not one ripple. The freight train stops dead in its tracks, rolls off of the tracks, and is finished. So there's no one in the freight train, so don't worry about hurting anyone, but just imagine that. Okay, the column of light can't be hurt. Now let's do it again. Because I want to reinforce to your body through visualization and through association how incredibly powerful this column of light is. So you're looking at train tracks right now. You see the column of light. Here comes the freight train. The freight train smashes into the column of light. The column of light doesn't even move. And the freight train just goes all over the place. Okay. Now I want to take it a step further, only if you're willing and only if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable with what I'm about to say, do not do it, because what we've done already is good enough. But if you feel comfortable, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine that you're actually inside that column of light on the freight train, on the train tracks while the freight train's coming. Only if you feel comfortable doing this, please. I'd like you to imagine that you're in the column of light and the freight train's coming toward it. And what I would like you to imagine is that you're feeling as safe and relaxed as possible. And then the freight train hits the column of light, and the column of light doesn't even budge. It's like watching a movie. You don't even feel the slightest tremor. So for those of you that want to do this visualization or have done this, I'd like you to just take a moment now. For those of you that want to do this, you're in the column of light. You're watching the train come toward it. The train bangs into it. You don't even feel a tremor. Now, could you do that and feel safe without feeling the slightest bit of tensing up? And again, only do this if you feel comfortable. Now, if you couldn't, I'd like to do it a couple more times so you can get to the point where you're actually looking at the freight train, feeling totally relaxed as it's smashing into the column of light. So for those of you that want to participate in this one, it's just going to take another moment. We're in the column of light. We're looking at the train coming toward us. Can you feel relaxed? Can you look at the train, and can you see the train hitting the column of light? And can you do that without even blinking? Try it a couple of times now where you get to the point where you don't even blink. That's how powerful this column of light is. So what we've just done is we've reinforced to us that we've got this column of light that's impenetrable to a freight train, and we feel totally safe in it. So now that you've done that, what I'd like you to do is, those of you that did that visualization where you're walking down the street, I'd like you to imagine now that you're walking down the street and you've got this column of light around you. You're in your most perfect ideal shape and this column of light is protecting you. And now that it's protecting you, can you look through that column of light and at the people that are looking at you, because people can't help but look at you. That's just a fact of life. When you've got your energy is flowing, I don't care if you're 80 years old or 18, when you're healthy and fit and your energy is flowing, people will look at you. That's a fact. And it's a beautiful fact. There's nothing wrong with it. Can you feel safe? That's the issue. So you're walking down the street, you're in that column of light, people are looking at you. Can you look back at them and just smile and keep going without feeling the slightest discomfort? Can you do that now that you're in this column of light? Okay, that's what I'd like you to practice, and we'll do it in the visualization later. So eventually, if you haven't gotten there yet, I'd like you to get to the point where you can be in that column of light and feel safe. For guys, if you're in the room with someone who's hostile toward you, can you be in that room and feel totally safe with this column of light protecting you? Okay, that's where we're going to get to, and we're going to do that in the visualization. Now, aside from the fact that from feeling protected against people being aggressive toward you, as I mentioned before, another reason why you can feel emotional obesity is because you're feeling unloved for whatever reason. So I have another visualization that I'd like to add on top of the column of light only for people that want to use this imagery. And that is this beautiful angel. I'd like you to imagine you have this column of light. As you're sitting there, this column of light is nourishing you, it's energizing you, it's totally protecting you, you feel totally relaxed, totally secure. And you've got around you, around this column of light, is a beautiful, bright angel. Now, only use angel if you feel comfortable with angels. Otherwise, imagine it's a beautiful being, like could be a mother or someone you love, or just a beautiful, loving presence wrapping their arms around the column of light. A real tall presence, maybe 12 feet high or 3 meters high. And they're wrapping themselves around you. So I'm going to use the angel and the angel wings analogy, but if you don't want to use angel wings, don't worry about it. Use any analogy you want of some loving presence wrapping themselves around you. Doesn't matter what you do. The purpose is what you feel as a result of it. So I'm going to say angel wings, but you use whatever you want. So what I'd like you to imagine, you have this column of light wrapped around you, and this angel on top, a 12-foot high, 3-meter high angel, beautiful, bright angel, is wrapping their wings around you and just loving you. Can you feel that for a second? And you feel this beautiful bliss, unending stream of bliss around you, and safety and security and nourishment. It's almost like that love that's coming through, that presence, is nourishing you the same way if you were in a womb, the umbilical cord was nourishing you, you'd have no worries. This is going to sustain you, this is going to nourish you, this is going to protect you. So the column of light is making you safe, and the angel wings wrapping around is loving you, nourishing you, making you feel safe. So these are the type of imagery we're going to use in the visualization. I want to make them strong, I want to anchor them in you now. So have that visualization now. That idea of the column of light and the angel wings protecting you. And then you've got a surrogate. Now, you can also use those angel wings and that column of light anytime you're in real life and there's a stressful situation. I do this. I imagine this column of light around me protecting me and the angel wings protecting me, and I feel safe. So once it becomes ingrained in you, you can use it then. So if you do the test again of walking down the street, you may find that you feel safer now. And then you can then use this imagery to go back and relieve past traumas. So if you were to imagine that you would go back in time, if you had this column of light protecting you and these angel wings protecting you, and you went back in time to some traumatic experience in your life, whether it's somebody physically hurting you or screaming at you or abusing you or leaving you or, God forbid, dying, whatever it was, whatever the traumatic experience, can you imagine going back to that experience? What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine going back to that experience. And just do this with me right now. So you go back to that experience, and you're visiting that experience, and you're in that column of light, and you've got the angel wings or whatever, the loving presence protecting you. And I'd like you to imagine that in that situation, you feel totally safe and totally protected. And if there's an aggressive person on the other side, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're getting taller and taller and taller. and full of light and protection, so that the incident on a cellular level is becoming less significant. This is how you're using imagery to make it less significant. So the person that's being aggressive toward you is getting smaller and smaller to the point where they're just a couple of inches big, and you're getting taller and taller until you're as big as a building, as tall as a building, and you've got this column of light and these angel wings protecting you. So the incident, when you go back, on a cellular level, you're relieving the trauma. And if you think about that in that situation right now, you might think back, it's not bothering you as much anymore. Just as simple as that, it's not bothering you as much. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take, Neil, I'm going to take some questions now. And then we're going to go over the checklist and then do our visualization. Now, we're going to need 15 minutes for the visualization. So I'm going to take 10 minutes of questions, and we're going to go over the checklist. The checklist is really easy this week. We're just adding one thing for starters, because the most important thing is the visualization that we're going to do. And then let's just take some questions right now. But the questions ideally should be, if at all possible, whatever questions you have, deal to chronic stress and emotional obesity. So, Neil, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, John. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. We don't have a lot of questions tonight, just to let you know, but if anybody has some now, go ahead and send them in. This first one I have is from Katie, and she says, I have a question. I think I have a love famine, but I also associate love with serious stress, some bad experiences. So what I want most, I also fear most.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before, love is really, when it boils down to love, it ultimately is safety. So obviously there was some experience in your past where love felt unsafe and where you felt that there was a lack of love also, and a combination of that. Probably very early in childhood, maybe even before you can even remember, I don't know. But doing this visualization where you feel the column of light and you feel the angel or whatever you're using as a benign presence totally loving you and nourishing you with love, and then going back, if you can remember an incident that caused you pain in the past, go back to that incident and relive it where you're feeling the angel wings loving you and giving you safety and security, and the column of light giving you safety and security. And practicing these techniques will make you feel loving all the time and make you recreate that association that love is scarce and love is something to be feared. Ultimately, love is something to be feared because you feel that you may lose it also. So having this angel presence around you, loving you all the time, whenever you think about it, you will feel the association that love is everywhere. Another really good one, just like when we talked about the abundance visualization, is you can be imagining that you're in an infinite ocean of love. And just one drop of love is all the nourishment and all the support and love that you could possibly need. And then you just imagine the pores of your skin opening up and all this love rushing through. So by doing that visualization, you're feeling an association that love is everywhere. It's so bountiful, and all you got to do is let it come in. So these types of visualizations, Katie, will be extremely effective for you. Okay.
Okay, John. Right now we don't have any more questions about this topic.
Okay.
But I had one, if you wouldn't mind answering me. I was curious as to, when I was doing the column of light, I didn't know how far out it should be, how close to my body, how far out. Do you have any preferences?
Yeah, I imagine it being like about a half at arm's length. So if you were to stick your arms out on either side, the column of light would go to about your elbows. So that's what I would imagine, but the key is how comfortable you feel.
Right.
So that's my comfort level. I want it
noticed,
too close,
like,
but not,
when there was a train coming, I wanted that thing to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Fair enough.
When I thought of something else, like I thought of a past experience when somebody maybe was getting in my space that I didn't want there, it could be a little smaller. I think, to me, I just adjusted it automatically in my head compared to how big the threat was.
Well, that's totally fine because, again, this is not written in stone. This is symbolic. Visualization is a way to communicate with your body because your body doesn't understand English. And when you think about it, visualization is symbols. Like if you're in an airport and you don't speak the language, you just look up and there's symbols. Where the men's room is a symbol. Where the check-in is a symbol. Everything's a symbol. Everything's a sign. Signs are the universal way to communicate when people don't speak your language, and your body doesn't speak English, so you need a way of communicating. So these are symbols that we're doing when we're in a very powerful state to communicate to our body that we're safe and we're loved. So that on a cellular level, we don't have a reaction of a past trauma reminding us that we're not safe and we're not loved. So you're feeling safe and loved. So you can adjust the column however you feel. Neil, when you did the train thing, could you get to the point where you felt totally comfortable?
Well, it's interesting, John. I felt safe enough. Now I've done safety work in the past too. From I've listened to some of your stuff and done it. So I mean, it wasn't my first time through, but that was the first time I ever did the train thing, and I noticed that I felt pretty comfortable, but I had a hard time getting that column to not ripple when the train came at me. I mean, that took me a couple of times to.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. Is you do it a couple of times, but you're communicating to your body that, hey, we've got this column of light, and ain't nothing going to touch it. So eventually, it gets the message, and that's all it's supposed to really happen.
Yeah,
you know?
I noticed that if after I did it a couple more times, it got a little easier and easier. So I'd recommend to people to keep working on this and try. I would also recommend try it with different things that threaten you. Play that tape out in your mind with different maybe people or situations or things that have happened. Try it, play it out until you do get comfortable with it. Because then I went back and played some things that had happened to me in the past, and in re-experiencing it, it did feel a lot easier to go through that.
It's amazing to me, like, how quickly this visualization can be effective. Because I mean, I've talked to so many hundreds and hundreds of people where I do the test where you're walking down the street, because I usually know when someone has this already, and I say, how do you feel? And they go, I feel great. And I say, well, people are noticing you. How do you feel? And they go, oh, I don't feel comfortable. And then I just say, okay, I'd like you to imagine this big, beautiful angel just comes down and wraps their wings around you. How do you feel now? They just start laughing. They go, oh my God, I feel amazing. So just the simple tweak. To me, you know what it's like, Neil? It's like you've been trying to walk out of a glass door all your life, which is to me the analogy of dieting. You know, dieting makes sense on a logical level, but it's wrong when you factor in the way your body's primal survival instincts. So you're walking, you think you should be able to walk through this glass door. You don't know there's glass. It just makes sense. You keep banging and banging and banging and banging, and someone says, hey, that's the glass door. Right next to it is the open part. Just come right over here, and then you just walk right out. It's the same when you do a technique where you've been fighting yourself, and then you just have a simple visualization that just makes you feel safe, and then everything comes into place. And I hear people instantly laugh when that happens. So if we don't have too many questions, I'm going to go right to the checklist now, so that'll give us enough time to do our visualization.
Okay, good. I'll keep an eye out if any more come in.
Okay. And then, again, whatever questions come during the week, we'll always answer them. In the beginning, everybody had every type of question from how do I log on to how many flax seeds. People are getting into it. They're getting used to it now. So we were answering hundreds and hundreds a day. But whatever the questions are during the week between the radio show and the video blog, we're going to answer them. But let's just go to the checklist because there's not too much on the checklist this time. So the first is a week 4 morning visualization. Now, you've been doing a morning visualization, or it's been on the checklist for 3 weeks. And if you haven't started doing the checklist, let's just start right now, but start with the visualizations. That's the most important thing. If you can't do the other things, do the morning and evening visualization. Don't do anything else if you can't do it, or try to incorporate everything else, but everything else will come from the morning and evening visualization. So you're going to do the week 4 visualization, which is going to be focused on leading a lower stress life, dealing with past traumas and emotional obesity. So then after that, everything's pretty similar. We've been talking about drinking water from day 1, adding probiotics we put in last week. The salads we put in last week. Gabriel-friendly breakfast and digestive enzymes we put in last week. So all these things we put in. Water's been in there for a while. Ground flax seeds have been in there for a while. If you don't like flax seeds, use chia seeds or fish oil, but get your omega-3s. It's just a concept. Don't be too worried about it. Keeping your blood sugar stable by eating a friendly afternoon snack. Now, what I want to add, and that's highlighted there, the only thing I want to add to this checklist right now is an afternoon stress break. And in that afternoon stress break, so if you're already having an afternoon snack, I'd like you to listen to like a 5 or 7 minute visualization, or just do some meditation, sit in the sun and do some meditation, walk out in nature, and imagine this column of light and feeling safe. Just that's the only thing I want to add. So you're already having a snack in the afternoon. Have a 5 or 10 minute visualization. That's the only thing we're adding that helps you feel safer. Just doing a visualization, imagining this column of light around you, protecting you, and being out in the sun. Take a stress break like that. That's the only thing I want to add. And then everything else is the same. GM-friendly dinner with enzymes, water, and then your evening visualization. So of the daily checklist, that's the only thing we have to worry about. And then sometime during the week, now, if you feel like emotional obesity is a key thing and you've got to relieve past traumas, I would look into getting a healer. Now, an energetic healer is different than just like a therapist that you talk to. This is someone that's going to do visualizations with you, similar to the ones that we're doing right now, where you go back and relieve past traumas. Someone that understands how to do visualizations to relieve past trauma. And the way to find a healer, I find the best way to do is if you go to your health food store, which you probably maybe be familiar with already, and you notice the billboards, there's different pictures of people and healers up there. Look at the pictures, see if there's one person that you feel comfortable, that you trust, that's someone that you feel intuitively can help you. Give them a call. If you can't find a healer, give us an email. We'll try to refer someone that maybe not in your area, but you could do a remote session with. But it's better if you can to find someone in your area. And whenever you're in a stressful, confrontative situation, imagine that source of protection around you, the column of light around you. Okay? Continue to keep a journal and write about your experiences as you become aware of the things during the day that made you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, and what you can do in the future to feel safe in those situations. So if at the end of the day you say, you know what, my boss came in and that's what set me off, go back in your mind and imagine that situation again, but imagine yourself feeling calm and protected, having that column of light around you and feeling safe. Go back during the day, either write about it or think about it, go back during the day and replay that. So those are the things I want to talk, that's the checklist for this week. And those are the things I want you to focus on. And now what I'd like to do is our visualization. So if you just imagine yourself, just take a moment right now and sit and just stand up and put your shoulders up toward your ears and kind of like you're hunching your shoulders, and then just let your shoulders fall and relax. And do that again. Put your shoulders up to your ears. Let them fall and relax. And then just sit in your chair. Okay, now, just sitting there in your chair with your back straight, feeling comfortable and relaxed, with your eyes closed. And maybe if you can breathe through your nose, have your tongue resting on the roof of your mouth, just behind your teeth. I'd like you to imagine that there's a column of light that comes from the sky and surrounds you. And this column of light goes up as high from the sky into infinity and then goes around you and then goes into the earth. And this column of light is full of bright, white, powerful, protective light. And it's filling your body up with light. And so that every cell of your body is full of bright, white lights. Your head is full of bright white light. Your chest is full of bright white light. Your arms, your stomach, your legs, your hips, torso, thighs, knees, calves, feet. Your whole body is filled with bright white light. And if you reach your hand out maybe just a half a meter or a foot and a half, you can sort of feel that column of light, the perimeter of that column of light. And it's infinite. And it's all powerful. Nothing could ever harm you while this column of light is protecting you. You can even imagine, if you want, from a distance, you're looking at this column of light, and it's on a train tracks, and you can see a train coming toward it, a freight train. And the freight train's empty, but it's coming very quickly toward this column of light. And you're a couple hundred meters away, and you're watching the scene. And you can see this glowing column of light, and the train's about to hit the column of light. It hits it, and the column of light doesn't even budge. That's how powerful this column of light is. It's impenetrable. And now having this column of light back around you, surrounding you, you can see how powerful it is. It's surrounding your body with bright white light. And your body is feeling safe. And your body is covered with white light. And every cell of your body is bathed in bright white light. And I'd like you to imagine that as you're feeling this feeling of safety, that every cell of your body is now saying at the same time the words safe, safe, safe. So you see this column of light around you going from the sky to the earth. You feel the white lights. You see the words coming from your brain, safe, millions of little words that say safe, going to every cell of your body, and every cell of your body saying and feeling at the same time, safe, 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 safe. And because you're feeling so safe right now and so protected, you can imagine now that any excess weight on your body is melting into the white light and into the earth. You don't need it anymore. You're feeling totally safe and protected. And as you're feeling totally safe and protected, I'd like you to imagine that a beautiful, loving presence, it could be a guardian angel, or it could be somebody you love and trust, and they're maybe 3 meters high, or 12 meters, or 12 feet. So they're 3 meters high, or 12 feet, and they're wrapping their arms around you. Or if they're a guardian angel, they're wrapping their wings around you, making you feel safe and loved and protected and nourished. And you don't need the weight anymore because you've got this incredible, powerful, impenetrable safety and protection around you, and this love and nourishment and sustenance and connection around you. And this angel, guardian angel, or this beautiful presence, this beautiful person is wrapping their arms or their wings around you, and you feel safe and protected and loved and nourished. Always. It's like an unending stream of love and protection going from them to you. And you're in your most perfect, ideal shape. And I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye that you stand up and you walk, and you're walking down the street, and nobody can see the column of light, and nobody can see this beautiful, loving presence around you. But you can feel them and you can see them. But what they can see is that you have this beautiful light around you, and you're in amazing shape, and you've got light and beauty coming out of you. And people can't help but notice. But that's okay, because you feel amazing. You smile back at them and keep walking, feeling safe and protected. And you go to your office, if that's where you go, or you go to your home and to your family with your kids. And you've got this light around you, and you've got this angel protecting you. This guardian angel, this beautiful presence in this column of light. And wherever you are throughout your day, you can imagine yourself living your day, and whatever situations come up, you're feeling safe and protected and nourished and energized. You're full of bright white lights, and you're calm. Maybe your boss is asking you to do something and you have to say no, and you can say no and just be relaxed. And he can look at you and go, oh, okay. Or she can say, I understand. Maybe we'll do it another time. And they back off because they feel your power, and they feel your presence, and they feel your energy and your beauty and your light, and it's all there protecting you and nourishing you, and you can feel safe and relaxed, and you can say no without any fear. You say no with love, and they feel the love, and they back off. Okay, they say, maybe another time, and it's okay because you're safe and protected, and you feel safe and protected and powerful, and you are so relaxed that for the first time that your muscles are relaxing in your shoulders and your chest and your arms like they've never relaxed, and you feel firmly planted to the ground, and this column of light is around you protecting you. And all through your day you're relaxed and calm, and you're communicating to your body that you're safe and you're loved and you're nourished, and you don't need the weight anymore, and the weight falls off. The weight melts off your body, and you feel safe this way, being your most ideal shape, and you are so totally, thoroughly protected. And you can imagine now, going back in time from the moment you were born till today. We're just going to go back in time, starting from the moment you were born, and go back with this column of light and with this beautiful, loving presence wrapping their arms and their wings around you, and filled with light, and you're in your perfect shape. And you're going to go back from the moment you were born till today, and whatever uncomfortable, sad, traumatic experiences may have happened to you, we're going to go back and just relieve them. So if you imagine whatever situation caused you problems, imagine yourself in that situation. And if there's an aggressive person there, imagine that you're filled with light, and you're getting taller and taller and taller and brighter, and this column of light is protecting you, and you're relaxed. And that person is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till they're just an inch or two big. And you're feeling tall and bright and confident, and you're in your most perfect, ideal shape, glowing. And this angel is protecting you and loving you. And if it's a situation where somebody in your life is leaving, or you're no longer connected to them, you're feeling totally loved by this angel, and you're feeling brighter and brighter and brighter. And we'll just go back to when you're 2 years old, and then you're 5 years old, and 10 years old. You don't have to even remember the situations, but every moment of your life, from the moment you were born, we're going up from then until now, and just energizing and relieving, and we're going back and feeling totally powerful. So whatever situation comes up into your mind, imagine you're there right now. The column of light is protecting you. You're in your most perfect shape. The angel wings, and the angel and the benign, loving presence is there loving you and also protecting you. And whatever the uncomfortable situation is, if it's another person, they're getting smaller and smaller. And you're feeling safe and relieving whatever the situation was. And each time you relieve whatever the situation was, the cells of your body get more confident, more loving, stronger, more brighter, more vibrant, until you work your way up to maybe you're 15 or 20 years old, or 30, or 40, or 50, whenever it happened. Just take a moment to relieve whatever comes into your head, and feel the incredible amount of energy that's coming from that column of light and protecting you and surrounding you, and how all the cells of your body are being healed because you're communicating that you are now safe, and whatever happened is now small, They're 2 inches big, and you're getting taller and taller, and you're in your most ideal shape, feeling safe and fit in that situation. And then the situation just goes away. And you're coming back to now, and you're sitting in your chair, and that beautiful, bright column of light is there. And that loving presence is wrapping their arms or wings around you. And as you're sitting here, you know that you're different now. You know that whatever was causing you pain is gone. You know that you feel confident and secure like you've never felt before, and energized and happy and fit and excited like you have never felt before. And maybe for the first time in years, you can turn your attention from whatever is bothering you toward whatever your passion is. And you can now live the most passionate life that you've ever imagined because you're feeling safe and secure and want to experience all the incredible joys of life. That is what you're experiencing now. And so as you're sitting there in your most perfect ideal shape, with this column of light and this love around you, know that forever, as you go forward in your life, tomorrow, today, the next day, 6 months, and 6 years from now, that you are safe and you are protected, and the weight is melting off of you. You don't need it anymore, and you're fit and happy and confident and living the life of your dreams, your greatest life's purpose. And in your own time, when you're ready, you can open your eyes and have an amazing day.